Welcome to the Marvel Alliance podcast, where we cover anything and everything to do with the Marvel Universe. From the comics, TV, and movies, we'll go from the microverse to Earth 616 to the negative zone to bring the Marvel Universe right to you. My name is Chris.
I'm the podcaster Mischief Trust Snell.
Alliance Assemble.
Oh, I missed it. I wasn't sure. Alliance Assemble.
Ah, that's all good.
That's gonna be our goal, ladies and gentlemen. You can keep count how many episodes till we get to Alliance Assemble. So, but no, very exciting. How you doing today, Chris?
Doing good. It's like I've got my high five up for a slap, for a high five, and you just like left me hanging.
It happens, we're recording in
Yep,
the morning weekend, I'm a little drowsy here. I missed the high five, but we still hit it. We'll hit it one day. One
we'll,
day
we'll
we'll
do
get that
we'll do it. But this is our
Mhm.
first episode.
Yeah, very exciting. Yeah, it's time. We've been talking about this. It's crazy that we've been talking about this for the past few months now, and now it's here and it's real, and yeah, it's very exciting.
Yeah, no, it's great. So no, but thank you all for tuning in for our first one. But as always, we want to talk about what we're a part of, and since this is the first one, we've got some other shows that are on this network we want to talk about.
Yeah, so this is launching. We're the official launch episode, but this week you got lots of good things. Tomorrow is the counterpart, our distinguished competition, DC Alliance. They're going to be happening every Tuesday, Wednesday. Chris, I'll throw that over to you because that's your show, so you can talk about it
Oh
quickly.
yeah, yeah. Wednesdays, my show, World's Finest True Believers. You get new comics on Wednesday. Well, as we think new comics are typically happen. If you're a Diamond subscriber, you get comics on Wednesday. If you're DC, they might be coming out on Tuesdays, but typically we'll go with the Wednesday. World's Finest True Believers will drop, where I, guest and myself, talk about a graphic novel or a comic book arc that a guest comes on, and we do a deep dive into it.
Yeah, perfect. And then Thursdays is always a switch off. This week we're starting with Slice of Film. Both shows are brought to you by Katie. Slice of Film, she's kind of diving in some older films. There's tons of films she hasn't seen, honestly. And I know you're on an episode coming out. We won't say what it is in case she wants to announce that. But and then next week will be the first episode of Star Wars Alliance. She has recorded that with Nathan, and I've heard about the topics. It's gonna be really good. And then Friday is superhero discussions. Again, I think it might be public at this point, but if not, then here's a little scoop for you. Travis is reviewing the entire Superman animated series to start
Ooh.
off with. So yeah, I think he's kind of going not episode by episode, but maybe like in chunks of like 3 or 4. He's having himself on, obviously, guests and whatnot. So yeah, that's his starting one. And then I know later on in this month he's going to be bringing you a Flashpoint review. I'm going to be on that along with Lisa, who's from I Love That Movie. So just already in the first month, we got lots of good stuff planned. But that's the schedule. If you have any questions, head over to our Twitter and Facebook, whether that's Chris or mine's personal one, any of the podcasters. Everything you want to know is in the links down below. You'll have our Twitter handles, you'll have the information, you'll have the GeekVerse like extra link that takes you to the Geek Ultimate Alliance. Like I said, you have the Twitter and Facebook. So go follow, subscribe, and you'll have all the audio feeds. We are on YouTube. As you see, there's no video, but if you prefer, because I know some people have YouTube Red, so it's right there. And then it's not going to be launching exactly. I think it'll be launching next few weeks, but in the future, we will be having a Patreon where you can get episodes if they're recorded early. They'll be on there, ad-free stuff, and we're just launching right now. This is like the first issues and whatnot, but in the future, we'll be doing some exclusive kind of crossover stuff. So yeah, exciting times. As always, if you have any questions, just hit us up, whether it's Twitter, Facebook, email. All the links are in the description down below. Did I miss anything, Chris? Was that a good run through for the first time?
No, I think it was good, and as always, we're early, but all those
Mhm.
extra reviews do help. So if you feel so inclined that our first episode warrants a review on the network, please, or you want to wait to the full week, and Travis is gonna be the hinger if you're gonna review or not at the end of the week. Well, I hope you
Yeah.
give us that little extra review or rate us on whatever podcatcher you use. We always appreciate the time.
Yeah, and anything, we're all very social, or we're all very social and active on social media. So hit us up, whether you just want to talk about some of the stuff, but if you have topics you want, or anything in general, you say, "Oh, hey, could you cover this? Want to talk about this?" Anything, we want to conversate with you guys. We want to get to know you guys. So yeah, this is very exciting. So Chris, you want to maybe start off? What are we doing here? Obviously, the title pretty self-explanatory. I think you'll know what we're talking about, but what
We're we're
specifically? And
we're actually talking about farming pineapples,
yeah,
in
that's the big
Canada
twist.
and in North Carolina, since that's where we both respectively live, which I
Mhm.
is difficult, but on this show no, I'm just kidding, yes.
Yeah, we knew no one would listen to Pineapple Alliance, so we ghost titled it Marvel Alliance just to get you in the door. But you're gonna love the pineapple talk. But yeah, no, what's the show gonna be about? And obviously we're gonna talk about what brought us to loving Marvel.
Yeah, no, I mean, this shows, like I said in the intro, it's everything Marvel has to do with, whether it be comics, TV, film, streaming, rumors, news.
Mhm.
You know, right now, you know, in our current environment, the news is kind of scant, but you know, whatever news does come up in those kind of worlds, we will definitely talk about it. And it's revolving around everything Marvel. And you know, you and I, we both dabble in everything in the sense
Mhm.
that we're Marvel. We love Marvel. We both have our loves of DC, you know, independence, things like that. But you know, we'll keep it focused on Marvel. You know, we're not haters of our brethren over at the other show. But
Oh, yeah. No, we're gonna
uh,
crush 'em. We're look
oh,
out,
okay.
Nathan. No, I'm joking. No, we're
No, that's true. Nathan will definitely throw down at that point.
oh,
He
yeah.
will.
But like you said, yeah, you'll see us sometimes guest on their show and vice versa. It's a very fluid. We were like you. We want to talk about them all, like them all, and yeah, it'll stay Marvel focused unless something came up where it's like, oh, for some reason they decide to put out Justice League 3 the same day as Avengers 5, and we're gonna have to
Yep.
talk about this. But yeah, it's nothing but love here for the other anything else that's on the network.
But yeah, that's what we wanted to do. And for us, you know, even before this environment that we're living in right now with shutdowns and social distancing, you know, getting to talk to Travis or even interact with the fans and listeners at that point to talk about stuff that we love is one of the reasons we do shows like this. So
Hmm.
it's great. You know, me personally, getting to know me, I live in North Carolina and I'm an assistant principal at a local high school and have been a comic book lover probably, well, that sounds dirty, but I don't mean it like that. I enjoy reading comics at that point, probably since like 10 or 12 years old. Used to live in Connecticut and have taken breaks here or there, you know, really got back into collecting in college. And now I've stopped doing single issues just because adulting, kids,
Hmm.
marriage, and my shop that I usually used to frequent and had nothing to do with them. They're still an awesome shop. Heroes aren't hard to find in Charlotte. Um, it was just 30, 40 minutes away. Just the drive every day wasn't convenient, but I still, you know, try to throw them some support here or there. But I'm mainly a trades hardback kind of collector at this point. So yeah, I know I'm a little bit behind on stories, but I read the news, I follow the storylines from there. It doesn't ruin my experience when I do read them. It just excites me more for when I get to finally have my own experience of reading it. And more than likely, it's 6 months after I get it. They've already moved on to another storyline, so I probably forgotten about certain things too. But but yeah, I mean, I love everything from the comics to the shows to the movies. You know, some better than others, but you know that's what this podcast is about. You know, we're not just total. We love Marvel, but we're also gonna our opinions are our opinions. It doesn't mean that don't come after us if you don't like our opinions. At that
Oh,
point, you
yeah.
know, we want to discuss, you know, different opinions, and that's the wonderful thing. You have yours, I have mine. I know Travis and I are going to disagree on some things of what we view certain things on, and that's great. That's why we, you know, get along so well at that point. We always do it respectfully and everything like that. But that's what I if I were to pick kind of my Marvel heroes that I think the first thing I always fell in love with Marvel was X-Men.
Hmm.
Um,
Yeah,
and
well, we got that in common then.
Yep. And then it was Spider-Man, and then more and more just later on at that point. I think my more as I got older, Daredevil became a big kind of new favorite at that point. I
Hmm.
say new, you know, mostly when I got back into it in college at that point. So, but yeah, I mean, everything involving Marvel, certain things I collect more than others, but I enjoyed all. And thank you, Marvel Unlimited, for allowing me that
Hmm.
for that experience of delving into stuff I never either was alive for or did not give a chance for. So, but yeah, that's just a little bit about me.
Yeah, so yeah, my name's Travis Snell. I'm from GeekVerse Podcast. Been doing that for when it comes to July, 5 years. So we've been plugging away. And for Marvel, I think I kind of trace back to kind of two instances. The first instances where I imagine I fell in love with them was kind of the Fox Saturday morning cartoons with Spider-Man
Oh,
and
yes.
X-Men. But X-Men was my first comic because my cousins read them a lot, and my grandma she still has. I got to get them from, but she just has these stacks of just like older comics and whatnot. I just remember reading through them all. And there was some comic book that was like an X-Men kind of like, I don't know, kind of direction, sort of just like these are big stories that's happened over the past like decades. These are some characters, and they had like all like descriptions about who they are. And I remember that being like my first comic book, and funny enough, same thing kind of Spider-Man after that. and very similar as far as then I started going to a Daredevil or Punisher, some of the more darker stuff. But it was those Saturday morning cartoons, Spider-Man and X-Men, those two hold a big place in my heart. Especially Spider-Man, I always try to push out there because I feel like X-Men and Batman, they get really praised as those like the two greatest. And I think they are, but that Spider-Man show is very underrated, and the way they tackled some of those stories is fantastic. So if you've never watched it, give it a chance. It's all on Disney Plus. So it's there's some really good stories. But yeah, that's how it kind of started.
Probably I would say one of the best portrayals of Venom on screen,
Oh
you
yeah.
know, with Spider-Man. I do enjoy and I really do like, the Venom on Eddie Brock, not Eddie Brock, but, Tom
Mhm.
Hardy's portrayal
Yeah.
at that point, but I think we have not yet seen a good Spider-Man and Venom portrayal outside of the animated show.
Yeah, and I think those animated shows had a lot of free range. They did that a lot, both with Batman and X-Men as well. And then even then, I love some of the. I haven't rewatched it. I'm excited to, but I even loved the Iron Man. It had like a 2 season, and it got canceled. It didn't hit the same way, but that's kind of was my touchstone. And then it was comic books, and it was action video games and everything like that. And then now it's just been movies throughout the time. You know, it's a. And I only had one friend around, kind of elementary, middle school that was the same as me. It was reading comic books. Tried to I live in Kelowna, BC, so that is kind of 3 hours away from Vancouver. More people would know that. And this is a place where you wouldn't get like daily or weekly issues for comic books. So I was always reading stuff in the past, kind of similar to you. It was just not accessible until digital stuff. So that's why if there's a run I'm really liking, I will do something digital. But most time I can wait. But yeah, I've lived in Kelowna my whole life. I work for Interior Health down here, so it's a fun time right now working with hospitals and everything because it's always hectic.
Fun in quotes.
Oh yeah, exactly. My schedule's always on the change, always on the go. So hopefully things get back to normal. But and yeah, that's the other thing where we talked about this show. I'm excited, and that's why we kind of for all shows wanted to start now because it's an honest thing. Like me and Chris, we've podcast before, but we're gonna get to know each other more on this. The other hosts gonna get to know each other more. We want to try and hit the ground running before like because I feel when the news and movies come back, it's just going to be a blender. It's going to be rapid. It's going to be thrown up because everyone's going to feel like they want to catch up. So you're going to get all these trailers, all these movies. You already look at November coming up, not just for we got Marvel movies, but just it's looking stacked already. So I feel like that's why we want to start this where, yeah, there's a little less news, but that's where one, we're going to talk about some good topics and you guys get to know us before we really have to like, okay, we have 6 trailers to talk about today. Go. So that's where I'm pretty excited about that, where it's kind of that like calm before the storm. And then because even then July, it's not people are already talking about opening theaters up, so we never know. I know Comic Con's announced like a online Comic Con. I'm not expecting too much from it, but you never know. But yeah, that's kind of me in a nutshell. Always hit me up at Travis B. Snell. I'm excited to talk about anything. Like Chris said, I'm a massive fan of DC and Marvel. Batman's my big guy. I want to ask you because this is a question that I think we need to get to know each other. What would
Mhm.
say is your all-time favorite Marvel movie?
Marvel movie.
Hmm.
Um, the 1990s Captain America. No.
Perfect choice. Mine as well.
Man, it's I would have to say Winter Soldier,
Hmm.
and that will get into our next topic. I was going to bring it up then is that I am a sucker for a good spy movie or a good political thriller or something like that. And Winter Soldier just blew me away about this was like a big step for Marvel to
Oh yeah.
turn what is a very celebrated story in the comics uh, 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 to what it was. I mean, yes, they made changes and things like that, but I thought the changes were just so good, and it's still my number one Marvel movie of all time, MCU movie of all time.
That's perfect. Yeah, see, this is gonna be an exciting podcast because when that came out, I thought it was one of the most overrated movies I had seen, and now I love it. It was because when I had seen it, I was working out of town and I couldn't see it for 2 weeks. So it was just, I think it was
Oh,
the,
you got overload. Yep, and
yep,
that's
it
why
was,
maybe a break from superhero movies right now. I mean, yes, I'm. We totally don't want to say the seriousness of what's going on, but maybe a good break that's going on with MCU, DCEU movies. It can be a good thing.
yeah, for me, it was just 2 weeks of people just talking about this like this was the greatest movie ever. And especially at that point after The Dark Knight, whenever you see a movie and it's like best comic movie since The Dark Knight, you have a certain level of expectation. And it's funny, when I first saw it, I liked it, didn't love it. And now over the years, every time I watch it, I like it more and more. I think it's in my top 10. It might be near the lower end, but it's just so funny what hype can do to you because I just remember like, oh, I finally get to see it. And I saw it and I was like, this is it. Like this didn't reinvent the wheel. And then I really appreciated it more every time I saw it. So hype can get you sometimes. For me,
True.
For me, it's Logan. Logan is my Wolverine's my
Oh, okay.
favorite, so I might be like a little like biased, but I just remember that movie ever since it was seeing the poster and then seeing the title. Because I remember when they dropped the title Logan, I was like, oh, they're going for it. They're doing something really different. They're doing something unique because
Mhm.
that's not the sexy X-Men Wolverine origin style. That's not this. And then it was that trailer, and I feel like all the trailer marketing was pitch perfect. And I just think that was such a great send off. I think Hugh Jackman is it's not a rare thing to say. He is just phenomenal in that role, and we'll talk about that one day with X Men coming in. It's gonna be
Mhm.
very interesting how they tackle that and just Wolverine in general. But I that movie was everything, and I think that's probably the comic movie that I have cried the most is like a blubbering mess. Those last 15 minutes of that movie are brutal, you know. It's
Eh,
just and it's so well done, and it's just such a good send off because it's now we're getting that, but I felt like before Dark Knight Rises and Logan, there wasn't many superhero movies where you got to send off the hero. You know, it's like you look at Toby Spider-Man, it's just, oh, the films are done. You know, most of the X-Men characters until Logan, they're just, Magneto's gone, Professor X is gone, and then they brought him back for Logan. So the send off was fantastic. And that's for me. I always like edge a little more darker, even though like Spider-Man might be my favorite Marvel hero. I think probably next to Daredevil and Wolverine, but I
mhm.
always lean a little bit more towards the darker films. But yeah, Logan's my guy. And then MCU, that's a toss up. You could ask me any day of the week, and it might change. There's days where I say it's Black Panther. There's days where I say it's Endgame. There's days where I say it's Civil War. There's days where it's Thor Ragnarok. If I'm in a bad mood, you put that on. But that's a good thing. There's been a lot of great comic movies these past
Mhm.
just past like 5 years, not even decade, 5 years. It's been stacked.
Yeah, I would agree with you on Logan at that point. I think I still remember um, the trailer I thought for Logan with "Way Down We Go," the
Hmm.
music that played with it. I thought, man, what a outstanding! I knew exactly where they were pulling that story from,
Yeah.
and it was just like you'd say a perfect send off. I love how on the Blu-ray features at that point in digital that you can watch the movie in black and white. That is
Hmm.
so cool because that is a great way to kind of view that movie in a different light. But oh, I think we just chased our first squirrel.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, yeah. So
That's
that's
a
what
good
well, at
one.
least now you know why we love Marvel and everything like that. So
Yeah.
I guess we could get into the main topic.
Yeah. Yeah. Our first one, first main topic is, lots of stuff. We got tons of ideas, and we're going to help you listeners are going to get a chance to help us choose some topics when we have so many different ideas.
Hmm.
We're going to give you all an opportunity to do that. So pay attention to our social media at that point because we're gonna let you all sometimes choose is Marvel comic storylines that we want and hope to be adapted to the MCU. So we put a little caveat on this because it's going to be a discussion for another day. We are not talking about X titles and no X-Men
Hmm.
titles on this one, just because one, they haven't been brought in yet. So we obviously want a lot, but
Hmm.
it is one of those things that is difficult when they haven't even introduced them yet to bring it in. So
Yeah, and that's a good topic. We'll probably do before all the big movies come out, and whatnot, because I think that's
mhm,
almost like a show's worth topic of just talking
yes.
about because there's so many intricacies of how they could do and whatnot. But yeah, that was tough when we did that. I was like, this is right, but it was tough because there's still lots of great storylines, but there's just so many X storylines that Dark Phoenix that I'd love to see brought to screen in the
Uh,
right way. But
oh yeah, and it's just like in order to do some of these storylines, you have to have a proper setup, and
yeah.
so that just made it difficult to say, well, of course I want this and this and this, but we have no setup yet.
Hmm. Yeah. So
So
hello, ladies and gentlemen. Chris and I hope you're enjoying another edition of the Marvel Alliance podcast. We're about to throw some ads right now. These ads help build the channel, they help support every single show here on the feed. The thing is, who we're partnered with, we don't get to select the ads and we don't get to select the volume of the ads, unfortunately. So we're giving you this warning to adjust your headsets, turn down that volume so you can listen to all these ads and support the Geek Ultimate Alliance. I'm going to give you a countdown, you're going to hear some ads, and then you're going to go right back into the episode. 3, 2, 1.
who you want to go first? You want me to go first?
Sure,
Was
I,
my
I
first
can
choice.
go first. Yeah, I'll
Okay.
go first because I mentioned it previously just in talking about movies. And the first storyline I picked was Doom War. And the reason
Hmm.
was I think you'll probably know this. I talked about this. I was on Civil Servant a few weeks ago and we were talking about potential ideas and stuff like that as far as putting Fantastic Four in the MCU. And my suggestion has been Doom War for a while. Just because one, excuse me, one, I think that Doctor Doom is a massive villain. I do want him obviously to be kind of like everyone else, the big bad. I'm not expecting that to happen, him to be like Thanos level, but that's what I want. I want that treatment. I
Mhm.
want to be taken seriously. And I also think there might be some value in not putting him and Fantastic Four together right away. And obviously, we're going to talk about that another day. But I think there's a chance we could even see Victor first. The For me, I try to think of ways that the story could naturally go. And for me, if you look at Black Panther, which I honestly think I think lots of people enjoy it, lots of people love it, but I think I'm somewhat in the minority of like I said, I think it might be the best film. There's kind of the fanboy film that I love, and that's where for me Endgame always gets it because these battle scenes and whatnot. But for the
Mhm.
best film, I love Black Panther, and I think it might be their best one. And you look not too shabby, got the first nomination for an Oscar for a comic book film, and
Oh,
yeah,
yeah. No,
yeah, and lots
fully
of
agreement on that.
yeah.
That is my probably my number one's, can change at that point, but this is the 2, 3, 4, 5 change on the day, and Black Panther's in there.
Yeah, and I just think that yeah, there was lots of things. It was a big blockbuster. Its cast was unique, but the thing about it was, I think near the where people do get lost is kind of the last battles. Like oh, it kind of becomes a CG fest and whatnot. But for me, that's never been a problem. I loved it, and I think the first, I'd say the Act One, Act Two. I just remember being in the audience and watching it when Killmonger started talking about race, and not
Mhm.
just like a hinting subtle way around it. He's literally just talking about like, "Oh, your people took things from us." And I was like,
Yeah.
for me, that was the first time Marvel was really tackling something that wasn't just about, oh, superheroes. And I was not, especially if you go back, you look at the marketing had none of that. That was going to be about race issues or race wars, anything like that. It just looked like, oh, it's Killmonger trying to take over Khan and he wants to be a king. He did, but that wasn't his main goal. And I think that movie had such a big impact on the community. And I think the thing is that it did center around race. And I kind of go, what's the evolution to that? And I compare it to an X-Men 1, the very first one, 2000, where at the end, Eric and Charles are having that chess game, and Eric says, like, "Don't you ever wake up in the middle of the night in fear they're going to come for your school and your children?" And I feel like there's kind of that inference in Black Panther. One of Killmonger doesn't directly say that, but just kind of he wants to be the first to strike again before anything else happens to his people again. And it's kind of one of those things where you would have that problem introduced as far as Doom, who would be this white, rich, powerful man that maybe would make the case. And I think you could make the case where again Black Panther was about race, but it wasn't slapping you in the face as far as like there was other reasons. Doctor Doom could come in and say to the U.S. government, whoever it be, this country hid themselves for years. They hid technology from us for years. What else could they be hiding? Do we just want to take their word? This is all that. And you could easily have Doctor Doom kind of pitch it, or Victor Von Doom even at that point of pitch it like we just need to go over there and find what's going on. When really
Mhm.
his motivation is to invade, take over, and use it for his personal gain. And again, that comes back exactly what Killmonger was talking about as far as people taking from the black community, black people, everything, their pride, their possessions. So I think there's that natural progression of one, we get that great villain introduced, and that could be a great setup where, like I said, he could even be the guy pulling the strings. You get a progression of what they started in Black Panther, because I think that's the way as many times villains will say this is going to happen. And the thing is, it does happen in a sequel, but now we see how the character of our hero responds to it and he solves it. Killmonger wanted to solve it by killing everybody. That's not the right way. That's not the way we want to go about it. So what that's where you introduce that of like, oh, Killmonger was kind of right that things could progress in a terrible way, but it's up to T'Challa, his family, to steer things in the right way. And then I also think that's a perfect way of, like I said, you could build up, and because I guess you could take the route of Thor had Loki as his first villain, and he did go on to be the Avengers villain right away. So it has been done before. I just would maybe like some buildup of Fantastic Four dealing with some other people. I think you could have Victor Von Doom in Fantastic Four, but I think the actual Doctor Doom character you could save. I think Black Panther could be a good place to introduce him, and even if not introduce him, I think it's a storyline they could do down the road just because what they set up. So that was my reasoning behind Doom Wars, my first pick.
Yeah, a question for you
Mhm.
going along with that. In the comics, Victor Von Doom is the ruler of Latveria. Would
Mhm.
you want to see him be a ruler of that, or take a quote unquote, it's a dirty word, a modern day approach, and have him be a in charge of a corporation, maybe calling it Latveria or something like that as a tip of your hat? What would you rather see?
I think we can go the Latveria route because Wakanda wasn't a place until 2015, right? And Ultron, we
Hmm.
never had heard about it, and then also we'd heard about vibranium, but we had never heard of Wakanda specifically, and we never went there. So I think we could. I think there's other places you could turn into corporations. I think this one, especially, I guess it depends the amount they want to use Doom, right? If he is going to be one
Hmm.
of our next big bads, then I say, yeah, you give him his whole country. That's a set piece an Avengers movie could end at, etc. But if it is, which I don't want, but if it is, he might be a one and done kind of like Ultron, then you could kind of twist some things and
Oh, I
turn them
definitely don't
around.
want that either. I think he's too big of a villain
I
that could
Yeah,
have some massive crossover potential.
I agree, and I also think he has like that anti-hero route you can take because there's many times where he teams up with heroes, and that's nothing. I think comic book fans in general, girls and boys, they love anytime a villain has to team up with a hero. You know,
Hmm.
there's that kind of just back and forth. You never know. So I agree that I want him to be a Loki, even a Loki to the sense of being around a lot. But that's why I say if it's a one-off or kind of a one-two off, then you can go to corporation. If not, I think the whole country. What about yourself?
Yeah, I like the idea of the country. I think you bring up a good point about Wakanda, and it would just be a writer's problem to integrate. Oh, why we haven't heard from them lately,
Mhm.
or how do they come about? So yes, the corporation's the easy route to take. I think the more mainstay route is keeping him in the country, and that way he's always a threat. So, but again, it just takes a quick writer to solve that problem.
Oh yeah, and especially because now you could hear from Latveria because the world's in shambles, right? And maybe this person
Hmm.
has funding, or they just want to be more involved. There's many reasons. We don't know their ages as well. Doctor Doom could be very young, so he's just coming to prominence now. That's the fun thing for them to figure out. But I think the country just opens up a lot of possibilities, right? Whether it be for
Hmm.
F4 or the Avengers or any other hero. So yeah, that was my first pitch, and I'm just very curious too. The reason why, because there's also been these rumors of Namor and Black Panther too. I don't know. I'm gonna believe that when I see it, but it is funny that when they announced all these movies at Comic Con and D23, they all had subtitles, but Black Panther was the only one that said Black Panther 2.
Hmm.
So that's why I feel like it could be Namor because people said it could be like all the Battle Kings, but I think there is a chance that subtitle is a kind of not a spoiler, but it shows the direction. I just think there's a key reason why they didn't give us that subtitle. So I think there's some big cooking with Black Panther. Plus, that was a massive film, right? It's funny to think about, but Black Panther is MCU's biggest North American film, and that's crazy to think that it's a
Hmm.
solo adventure. It's not Infinity War, it's not Endgame, it's not Civil War, it's Black Panther. That's the biggest domestic film. So I think they're gonna want to pump that sequel up quite a big way.
No, I agree. I really can't wait to see what they're going to do. I'd like with everything. I get excited just to say, oh, they're going to do this, they're going to do this, and we don't know. I said, oh, but the potential to do all these different things.
Mhm.
So,
And for me, the fact that Coogler's coming back, the director, is a big thing
hmm,
because obviously that can change. We've seen with Doctor Strange, but Ryan Coogler to me is one of my favorite newer directors. I don't care
yes.
about the Rocky franchise, and I love Creed. Creed's my favorite one, and he turned me into a Rocky fan. And I love Fruitvale Station. I think he's a
Hmm.
really
Yes.
talented guy. So the fact I feel like that's one guy they want to keep around. I don't know if he'd want the big budget, but that's one guy I could see them doing the job, like the Russos, of maybe making him do some crossovers. I just think he's a talent that Disney/Marvel, they want to keep around. They don't want to lose a guy like that. As long as he wants to be there, I think they want to work with him and make him happy. Because at the end of the day, again, he provided them their first like Oscar film, and they can always tout that, right? Of like, oh well, we got the first one nominated, so
Hmm.
that's a guy you want to keep, in my opinion.
I definitely agree. So, but yeah, that's a great choice.
What's your first choice?
I'm gonna go with a Spider-Man route. And it's a well now it's almost like a almost 20 almost a 10-year-old story, but there was a series that ran in Spider-Man 2009 to 2010. It was called The Gauntlet, and eventually would follow up with The Grim Hunt. Um, and it's a number of different issues from Spider-Man, Amazing Spider-Man 611 to 637, Web of Spider-Man 2 through 7, and then a few tie-ins that I'll leave sitting there. But for those of you that are DC fans like myself and Travis are too, this is very much a Nightfall esque story,
Mm.
where Spider-Man is put through the gauntlet of his major villains, one after the other. He has to go against Rhino, Lizard, Mysterio, Sandman, Electro, Chameleon, Morbius, and Hammerhead. Not all at once, They
That's the
have
key,
their
yeah.
own yeah, that they have this ran as I said, it's ran over a year, this story, because there were issues building upon each other. And if you ever, Google just the Gauntlet Wikipedia, the first one of the one of the promotional images from Web of Spider-Man has Spider-Man in a tomb with all the things that you see from the villains associated around him. Just that this was a true gauntlet. But there were things working behind the scenes and people moving behind the scenes to throw. They didn't know it, but this was going on. And it brings up one of my favorite Spider-Man villains, Craven the Hunter. And this was
Mhm.
his family that was throwing this at Spider-Man for a sinister reason, which I'll leave sitting there. But it involves Craven's family, and it was just such putting Spider-Man through this, and the effects it had on him were awesome. It's one of my favorite last 10-15 year storylines from Spider-Man.
So how for you would you, because I guess this also has to ask you a far from home
Mhm.
question, how would you factor this in as far as potentially Peter Parker's identity being known?
Yeah, that one I don't know either way if it's real or not.
Mhm.
So we can go either way. Um, like with everything, I'll go the easy route and just say, "Oh, it was just a random. It didn't have any effects at that point." But it would be interesting to see. But let's go with the idea that it is known at that point. And so kind of like people joke around with Batman, is just like, did the villains get created as a result of him,
Mhm.
or they were always there? And so we could have this it would be hard to do this. It's one of those things that this will almost be kind of a two-parter movie, I would say.
Okay.
You get and kind of like how the comics worked it, in the sense of you go through the gauntlet in the first movie. You introduce these villains. They're not working together per se, because it's not a Sinister Six kind of thing. They're going after them in different ways. They don't know what's going on. Like they're all it's just it's like I said, it's not a Sinister Six. So you do the first movie of them introducing these villains, and he's just sent through the gauntlet of these different ones where he thinks they're not connected, but oh my gosh, they're all striking out. They all want to take me down because they know my identity. It's just who is going to take down Spider-Man first. You can kind of frame it like that,
Mhm.
like who is going to be the first one. And then the revelation, your teaser, your end credit scene would be the idea of Craven. And even though, well, we'll just leave it at that. Even though it's his family, you could make it Craven at that point, working behind the scenes, and then your follow up is Craven's last hunt. And
Perfect. Yeah, I'm with you on the
so,
Craven. I'm wanting Cravens very badly. I think that would be a good idea. I think so with Morbius, is it going to be Jared Leto popping in there if this were to happen?
sure, why not?
I guess so, right?
It's
Yeah.
I've got no other wings to say, and Morbius is a character that I like the trailer. I've just never been, oh my gosh, I want a Morbius movie.
Mhm.
So, and it's those kind of things I say, oh, okay, I'm still going to be there that first weekend to watch it, but it's not one of those that I'm pumped to see because I've always wanted to see a Morbius movie. It's more of like, hey, I'll give it a shot. You got my money. I'm not going to be like, oh, I hate this idea. I hate Jared Leto. So, you got my money in the first weekend.
Yeah, curiosity. Yeah, it's funny that yeah, I would like this. It would be an interesting take for Marvel to do because it's a hot take maybe, but I am someone that's not a fan of the Sinister Six. I've never loved the idea of all those villains teamed together taking on Spider-Man and losing. I've just
Hmm.
never been a fan of it, whether it's them, whether it's the Insidious Six in the cartoon show because they couldn't say the word sinister. I don't mind when it's
Forgot about that.
yeah, and I always thought, to be honest, when they were having those really initial talks of Garfield joining the MCU, like, wait, remember way back at Avengers originally had the Spider-Man Oscorp Tower, like they were going to
Hmm.
CGI it, and so originally I thought, oh, that's a perfect crossover. You could do Spider-Man and the Avengers versus Sinister Six. I still think there's a potential for a Spider-Man movie to have a Sinister Six and you have another Marvel hero help them out. Just because, like I said, I'm not a fan of that. But this idea of one by one separate stories, it's almost like a long Halloweenish in a way too. When you're talking about Batman, as far
True.
as
Yep.
it's
Hmm.
divide up of you got a chapter, an issue, it's about this character. this problem, this conflict, and then you move forward, and then there's something overarching happening. But yeah, Craven is the big thing because I'm a big fan of almost all iterations of him. So I really want to see that in the future. So I would be down. I think this could work out if they wanted to go that route. I think I don't know if you'd ever see a movie cover of the grave because that is some really haunting stuff going on there. But
Mhm.
you could maybe just show
Oh, I
the
think I think I give it to the MCU. They've surprised me on some stuff where they're not afraid to go that way. So yeah, if fans, if you look at it, it's
Mhm.
not going to spoil anything. Look for just Google like either the Gauntlet and Grim Hunt Wikipedia. It's the first image at that point. It is a very cool
Oh
thing.
yeah.
Man, there's so much fan service in this one image alone, that they could just put it on a poster and you'd be like, oh my gosh, they're going there.
And I guess maybe Mysterio would have to sit this adventure out unless they do like
True. You
some.
could you could
Yeah.
I mean, he's got a lot of different rogues gallery, so you could interchange a lot of different rogues if you wanna
You could
do that.
interchange or even you could just cut that story because of the length of a film. Like let's say
Oh,
they
yeah,
did if
exactly. You
yeah.
you don't have to do that amount of villains. You could easily do 3 or 4 and, people say, "Oh, we got the too many villains problems." Again, I leave that to the writers to sort out.
Yeah, well, I think we've have enough combinations of films that we've seen that cannot be an issue, you know. So,
Mhm.
well, that was really good. So I
Yeah.
am going to pick somebody that's sometimes hanging around New York, but he's kind of lost his mind, so he might not know where he is. I'm picking specifically the 2016 Moon Knight run by Jeff Lemire.
Okay.
This is one of my favorite all-time comic book arcs. I think it could be a top. It's for sure top 10, maybe a top 5. And Moon Knight is a character that I knew nothing about until way back in the day. I played the Marvel Ultimate Alliance video game, so there's a shout out to a name very similar to some inspiration. And there was a character you unlock him and it's Moon Knight. Who is Moon Knight? And there's always those jokes, right? Of, oh, it's Marvel's Batman. But I think if you read Moon Knight and you know the story, the only thing they have in common is that they might have some money and they wear capes and they fight crime. They have both some
I
mental
agree.
ish.
Yep, yep.
Yeah, they both have some mental issues, but very, very different. Bruce Wayne's his trauma. He's trying to fight his past, where Moon Knight is just trying to fight who he is in a day, and he has so many personalities. So that's the
Mhm.
thing with this is I'm not sure if anyone's ever seen the TV show Hannibal, but that was very much like it was from Will's point of view as far as Will Graham, and it is about
Yep.
he's trying to catch Hannibal and all this stuff, but it's also a character that suffered from some mental health issues and he had some prescription and whatnot. But it was kind of these things where he could solve these crimes, but he'd have to put himself in these very deep, dark places and it would take you on a windy road. This is that where you wake up, Mark Spector's in an asylum and he really has no idea where he is. And you get to go and flash between all his different personalities. So you get the taxi driver, you get the billionaire. And I think with the MCU coming up, I think that would be the way to really distinguish from, you don't want people to go, oh, it is just the white costume Batman. It is just their version because he is very different. And I think people that think he is just that Batman, yeah, he has that brutality and whatnot, but he's a guy that thinks there's a possibility that there's an Egyptian god in his body. So very different than what Bruce Wayne's going on. Mark Spector has a lot going on. So and it's just the imagery and the art style. And I think with they've announced it's gonna be a TV show. And so far, all the other MCU shows like Falcon Winter Soldier, they look like okay, that'll connect. WandaVision's supposed to connect, but what gives me faith is WandaVision looks like they're going really weird with it. They're taking from the Tom Taylor run. Am I correct? Tom King, sorry, Tom King run
Mhm.
of Vision, and that to me, the second they did that show showed okay, they're willing to play around because they can afford to fail there. As much as everyone doesn't want to say that, they could put out a show and it could get panned, but not everyone will see that show and go, "That wasn't for me." There might be people that watch for WandaVision and go, "Ah, it's just too weird," but they don't gotta have that film make $1 billion, right? So I think Moon Knight, if you were to wake up and he's dealing with who am I? Am I Stephen Grant? Am I Jake Lockley? Am I Mark Spector? Am I a god? Am I a billionaire? Am I an actor? And I also just think that gives like a lot of episodes. You could have each episode be about one of his personalities and it could be very fresh. And I think that also is just we've seen something like James McAvoy in Split that gives some actor a huge range and a huge platform to show what they could do. And I just think that you could have that be very, very different. There's touchstones in the MCU where I always feel like things shifted, like Avengers came and that changed everything. You kind of got this new style. But I feel right when they were starting to get into, oh, this is the MCU feel, Guardians came out and gave it a whole different feel. And think the same thing Civil War and Thor Ragnarok did that to an extent. So
Hmm.
I think you could almost do that Disney Plus shows of like maybe you could have a okay, She-Hulk is just another lower crime fire thing. You know, Miss Marvel could be very similar to Captain Marvel. I think Moon Knight and his story, you could come in there and just really flip the table. And I think that would also help to make it very unique for people that don't. Moon Knight is a my mom doesn't know who Moon Knight is. My dad, who introduced me to comics, probably doesn't know who Moon Knight is. You know, he was more a DC guy, but still, he knows his Marvel characters. And Moon Knight is not that popular of a character, even though he's not in many games or animated shows. He's a very deep, not a very deep cut, but he's more of a deep cut for the I'd say the mainstream. So I think a show
Hmm.
of a guy you got some cuckoo nest feels, you got some Hannibal feels, just trying to figure out who he is. And there's that fun element of you don't have to answer that question of is he a god? And also because it is a TV show, so we're not sure the budgets, but it also has the possibility to kind of globe trot. He goes to Egypt and whatnot. So I think there's just lots on the table in that particular story because in the past he's always had these split personalities, but that was to me the first story that really gave it meaning and gave it purpose and shows what this character could go through. Because before it was, oh, these were his identities so he could do crime. But this is no, this is something he's really struggling with. And who is he? He doesn't even know. And that's I think a fun thing as a viewer. And I think it would make for a really good weekly experience. Because they could go the route of just he is. You know, he uses Stephen Grant as a personality to get some information, and that could be fun. I would enjoy it, but we've kind of seen that before, where a sane hero will use a different identity to get some information. I think if you go the route of 3, 4 different personalities, I think that's something unique. And I think you have to do that in this day and age of comic book movies and TV shows because if it's generic or if it's seen before, the audiences might pass it by. So,
No, I think that's interesting. Yeah, so I was excited to hear that, they're going to be doing this as a Disney Plus show. It's kind of a,
mhm.
a different mold, but we haven't seen what Disney Plus shows and Marvel has done
Yeah.
yet. So I'm curious to see when we get Falcon and the Winter Soldier, um, finally out at that point. We'll get an idea of what is their limit of pushing this for the audience. So, um, and it's gonna. I think it's a great idea. I like the character. I'm not as well versed, but I do remember when he had his issues way back when I was collecting. I think it's the run you were talking about that. Just a unique and interesting character with what he was dealing with. So yeah, I like that.
And they
My
love
next. Oh,
the
go.
last point I was just gonna say, they
Mhm.
love to recreate certain panels, and if you go read the 2016 run, it's not a long run. Like now in volumes, there's only 3 volumes, so it's an easy read. And maybe one time in
Mhm.
the future we may read something to do it. You never know. But there's
Yeah.
just lots of just very great imagery, and it's also when you talk about the same way with Winter Soldier, I talk about Black Panther. They tackle certain things. This could be their show to tackle mental health and stuff like that. The same way, whether you agree with it or not, the same way kind of Joker took that as one of their plot points. That could be this, and I think it introduces I think, and that's something you could do in a TV show. I don't think they're going to tackle something as deep as that. And also because in a movie, you just might not have the time in 2 hours to fully get into it. With the MCU with Joker, it's different. It's a one off. It's about this guy. Moon Knight, you're going to have to establish where he is in this world, who he might know, what's his backstory, how does he factor in the next crossover. So, but yeah, those are my points. And yeah, everyone go check it out because it's a smaller run. I've not bumped into too many people that I know personally that I've read it, but I always recommend it. If you like trippy, weird, dark stuff, that Moon Knight 2016 runs for you. So yeah, sorry, what is your next guy? Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Chris and I hope you're enjoying another edition of the Marvel Alliance podcast. We're about to throw some ads right now. These ads help build the channel. They help support every single show here on the feed. The thing is, who we're partnered with, we don't get to select the ads and we don't get to select the volume of the ads, unfortunately. So we're giving you this warning to adjust your headsets, turn down that volume so you can listen to all these ads and support the Geek Ultimate Alliance. I'm going to give you a countdown. You're going to hear some ads and then you're going to go right back into the episode. 3, 2, 1.
My next pick is I I don't know even know if the deep cut is. It's one I always kind of go back to. It's called Secret War, not Secret Wars. That's completely different. Secret War. This was 2004, 2005, 5 issues, done by Brian Michael Bendis and pencils by Gabriel Dell'Otto. I'm probably pronouncing that completely wrong, so my apologies. But this was a story that Nick Fury had um, found out a secret plot in Latveria, but does not involve Doctor Doom. Their prime minister was funding a group of B-list supervillains with advanced tech, and was trying to kind of wreak terror on the American soil. So Fury, with takes these findings to the president of the United States, but the president denies him a request to overthrow, at this point, a post Doctor Doom ruled Latveria. He is no longer in charge of it. And Fury, Fury goes by his own tune. Um, Basically, does not want to have in this climate at that point a post in a pre, at that point the same a pre 9/11 security or post 9/11 at that point. He assembles a group of black ops heroes that he has chosen to basically take this down. Captain America, Spider-Man, Daredevil, Black Widow, Luke Cage, and Wolverine, and Shield agent Daisy Johnson in a private attempt to covertly overthrow Latveria. And then it stops, and then we flash forward to a year later, where major ramifications ensue for what they did in Latveria.
Yeah.
That is a movie. That is a movie I want to see.
Yeah, no, one I always go show out that art because I love the look of Captain America in this,
Oh
but
yes.
I think this story has tons of potential because especially when you have people like Daredevil and Luke Cage kicking around, we kind of are wondering where they're going to end up in the MCU. I think everyone has to kind of get to the idea of unfortunately it's probably not going to be Charlie Cox. We imagine they'll probably reboot it and kind of go, okay, well we want our own version, but this is even a way you could even because with Wolverine, and we're going to talk about the X Men show one day, but I always wonder could Wolverine, I think there's a chance he might not be a part of the X-Men and be more of a solo character just because of the IP. And he's a character like a Hulk you could put in different stories, and him on this team you could easily, and even with Captain America, you can just switch him out for Sam's Captain America. Like it all
You can
works.
you can interchange a ton of
Yep.
different people. It doesn't have to be this group, but I just like that there were so many different unique parts of this. There wasn't just your, oh, of course Wolverine's doing this. Of course, Black Widow. They're Black Ops to begin with. Of course, Daisy Johnson. She's a part of Shield. Like there was like really Spider-Man, really Luke
Mhm.
Cage, and I just love that they do this takedown, and then it flash forwards a year later, and not everything went as smoothly as they thought.
Yeah. And I think
And
that's a right, and that's something where you could even set up the actual advent of Latveria being taken over or at least like liberated in almost in a different movie, and then the ramifications almost like Civil War with Ultron, right? With
Mhm,
Ultron that happens, and then the ramifications are about Civil War because the only thing is I don't know in a MCU if in a movie you could jump a year because they don't know the ramifications of the timeline, right? So that's why I thought
true.
maybe you could set that up somehow in a different movie, do it in a different movie, or I guess you could always have it kind of happen off screen and maybe the other team is kind of like other characters are figuring out about this like why would you do this, why would you go that route, so there's lots of
Mhm.
fun ways they could incorporate this.
Yeah, I mean, even if you wanted to do a movie at that point, a lot of movies say you have the event, or you just say, okay, get ready to go. Screen goes to black 1 year later. You don't see it, and it's
Mhm.
done through flashbacks at
Yep.
that point to see what effects. So, I mean, or you could see the event, then flash forward a year later.
Mhm.
So it was such a unique story that I just really was blown away. This was my beginning getting back into comics to seeing Bendis do something like this. That
Oh,
was
and he's
so
great.
cool.
Yeah, I'm a big Bendis fan. I would ask you, so let's say Sony and Marvel, their deals don't go correctly in the future. Who would you put in the place of Spider-Man as like the kind-hearted character that you're surprised is on that mission in the MCU without Spider-Man? Let's say Tom Holland Spider-Man's not available. Who would you substitute for that kind of role as the like Captain America? It makes sense as far as, he is a do-gooder, but at times he will, get darker. But Spider-Man to me is that play where it's like, oh, this is really this character. Do you have anyone in mind that is that character for us right now that you'd be surprised to see? That would it's kind of like the way Black Widow joined Tony's side in Civil War, right? It's like this doesn't make much sense, but the character told us why and what her motivations were. So, what do you have any potential?
Yeah. I didn't even think about that. Do you have someone while I think at that point?
No, because I've been trying. That's what I've been trying to think the whole point. Like, who's the most kind-hearted? But you'd almost have to. It's tough because I would have said not most. Well, Ant Man maybe Paul Rudd's character, right? Of like
Yeah,
if you want to take one character who you would
yeah,
think would
that's not a bad choice
yeah,
in that
Scott Lang,
point.
it was, like, kind-hearted, he's a dad, and you go, "Why would he be doing this?" But maybe there's some reason he sees this has to be done, because that to me would be the most. Because I would almost say you could take someone like Wanda, but I feel like in WandaVision, you're gonna see
No.
her break a little bit more, right? You could see
Mhm.
her because right now I feel like she's a pretty, before Vision's death, because clearly that's going to mess with her. But before then, she's had some damage, but she's pretty kind-hearted character. She's very lovable, so that's where I thought you go the road. Plus, we don't know who else they could be introducing. I don't think it would be someone like a Miss Marvel, but you could get another character in the future that's kind-hearted introduced. But if I had to say right now, I say Ant-Man has potential to
Yeah.
be that. Really, he's here.
Yeah, it's got to be someone that is on Earth. That's why I didn't even think about like I'd even consider Guardians of the Galaxy or
Yeah.
anything. It's got to be someone who this has stakes for, and Scott could be convinced by Fury saying this is the effects that this is going to have if we don't take the Prime Minister and her organization down
Hmm.
that's running this behind the scenes.
Yeah, or maybe you don't have him, you have Hope instead, you have her go, and that could be some kind of
It,
either way, that could be a divide between the 2, and plus, I feel like in a mission like that, you want someone that could get small at any point to sneak somewhere. I feel like they'd be just
yeah,
realistically handy in that situation.
and it's got to be someone who's not part of the organization.
Yeah.
Like it can't be someone who, even though yes, Scott's an Avenger now in the sense, but it can't be someone within Shield because we've already got Daisy Johnson, we've got Nick Fury involved.
Mhm.
It can't it's got to be someone who is quote unquote street level but different from Daredevil.
Yeah,
So
and I think there's potential for this because I've kind of theorized. I think like another Avengers film is still ways off, and I do
mhm,
believe lots of rumors of people talking about possibly Midnight Suns being a thing. I think down the lines you could get an Illuminati. I think they're going to do a lot more smaller teams again, kind of like a Guardians S film with other MCU characters, but then really build up to make you miss the Avengers. And when that crossover happens, it's like huge. Like Midnight Suns could be big of Doctor Strange, Blade, Moon Knight, all these people, but when you get to Avengers, that's going to be the massive one. So I could see them
mhm,
doing kind of this could be a Civil War esque movie where it's not the major crossover like Avengers, but it is a building stone to something, or it's just a big event that people will go and see because Civil War was huge. It was $1 billion film, so I could see it
yeah,
being something like that.
yeah. So yep, I like that. But what's your number
Well,
three?
I was gonna switch it up and actually have you do your number three
Oh,
because
okay.
I,
Yep.
I think my story kind of has something to do with yours, but maybe it's a
That's,
post your story. So
oh yeah. Yep. Yep. I
yeah, throw
remember.
it
Yep.
yours, and then we will. I'll do mine. I don't want to steal any thunder. So.
Oh, you're good. No, no, no. I'll do that. So mine is Secret Invasion. Um,
Hmm.
8 issues and more issues, but the main brunt of it, June 2008 through part of 2009. Another you see, yes, I like Michael Bendis. Is another Bendis. Bendis was huge in Marvel at this time, but and Bendis and Lineal Francis Yu doing art. The big tagline, "Who do you trust?"
Hmm.
And the minute they brought the scrolls into Captain Marvel, I said, "Oh, they've just opened the door to Secret Invasion." And some people are like, "Oh, they made the scrolls good, guys. It's not that." Okay, everyone, take a minute and listen. They introduced this contingent of scrolls. Not everyone in every, you know, ethnicity or
Hmm.
not everyone in the scrolls probably is liking what's going on with what happened to them. They could see you can have a contingent of scrolls that just are evil and bad. This leads us into scrolls are very much involved also in the Fantastic Four. This was a event that happened after Civil War, where it was revealed that the scrolls were here and we didn't know a major character was revealed to be a scroll. So where are they?
Hmm.
Where are our heroes? Where are our villains? What is the end game? No pun intended. What is the
Endgame
point?
two.
Yeah, end game too. But this would be, people are like, oh my God, Thanos was your biggest card. How do you get a massive event like this? This is it. Secret Invasion is your follow up to an end game like point. There are so many different ways you can start hinting at this throughout the next couple of phases.
Ye
You know,
Yeah, I agree with you, and that's when you bring up the Thanos thing. I say with people, "Oh, how you gonna do another Thanos?" To me, it's like you don't do a
yeah,
Thanos. You
no,
do
you don't do
another something
Galactus.
else.
You stay away from that. You do a a group that they establish that has no home.
Yep.
They want a new home, but they're not willing to play ball. They're going to take it by force. This contingent of the scrolls.
Yeah, I'm like you. The second when because it was Comic Con, they announced okay, Captain Marvel's happening, and then they announced Brie Larson, and then the year after Comic Con is when they really rolled the oh, by the way, Skrulls are on this, and oh, by the way, it takes place in the past. So I think you and every MCU fan like myself or Marvel fan were like, okay, they're setting this up. I was that person that when I did watch it, oh, they made them good, but how are they gonna do this? But then Feige right away came out and said, oh, you never know what other Skrulls may be thinking about this. So he's even confirmed of like there's potential plans. We have heard, and this is the thing I wanted to throw to you because I'm not a fan of this. Is this true? There's been rumors of a Secret Invasion TV show, and for me, I'd have to
Mhm.
see that. And if the TV show has these people, has all our main heroes, that's fine. But I feel like I'm the same as you that I think it's a build up. You need it in a big crossover type film. I'm more subscribing to the idea that could be Captain Marvel 2. I think I've been saying this for a while. I think Captain Marvel 2 is going to be the civil war of this next few phases as far as like it's her movie, but it has a bunch of characters in it. But
Gotcha. I see
I
what
I think that for me, I think it has to be. You could have a TV show that has some elements of it, but I don't think you could have a TV show Secret Invasion and it have the same
it,
impact. I would worry they would
yeah,
just use that to try and get fans excited. But I'm on the road where I think it has to be in the movies or a main part of the movies.
it's too big of an event to be just put relegated to streaming. And I'm not
Mhm.
taking away from I'm not trying not to away from TV, but this was there's a reason this was part of their year, their summer event,
Yeah.
and it's it has ramifications that were put back in, again, a lot of Marvel story in this that you're gonna have to try to that you don't have to work because I mean this kind of was based off of the Kree Skrull War, where the quote unquote Illuminati, made up of Iron Man, Mr. Fantastic, Namor, Black Bolt, Xavier, and Strange, went to secretly confront the Skrulls, and you know this is the ramifications of that. You don't have to do that. You don't have to do that at all. This is very easily to headcanon and put it in the MCU proper. That is not that hard to do.
No, I agree. There's other ways, and we've seen that. You talk about Winter Soldier, Civil War. They adapt, right? That's an adaptation. You don't come in there and you don't do verbatim. This is the thing. I want that all the time. Same thing. If DC ever adapts things, it's like you have to change things up for the screen. Just even in general, even if there's no connected universe, just to make things work or for your audience. So I think as far as how the scrolls get there, that's a I won't say easy fix. I'm not trying to belittle people's jobs there, but I think that is one
Yeah.
of the more minor issues that they can just sit in a room one day and be like, okay, let's crack this. It's not to me like the X-Men where it's like, okay, how do we do this? Figure out how the Skrulls, want to target Earth. There's many possibilities to go. They have backstory and resources to look into how they could do that. So yeah, I want it to be a movie, and I've always said that I feel like this could be a way. It might be too soon, but I feel like this could also be a way to bring back a Chris Evans or a Downey, as far as just imagine a movie ending with that character coming back and you go, oh, this is strange, like how, oh, Chris Evans is back as Cap, this is great, but he's secretly a Skrull, and that could be kind of something's off with them. Or I've always thought that I want, because my it is risky, I think, in the movie world. Let's say we have this secret invasion going on, and then let's just take we were talking about Ant-Man. Let's just take Ant-Man for example. Let's say for 5 movies he's a Skrull, and then they reveal it at end credit. I think it honestly, I know they did that in comics, but I think it could backfire. Some people feel a little cheated. My way of always been proposing it is at an end credit, let's say you see Scott get taken out, and we as the audience know for 3 or 4 movies that this is not our Scott, but our characters don't know that. Even if he's not being evil scroll at, just so you kind of know, like, okay, the other shoe's gonna drop at some point, because I know comics they do that, but I think with film and audience, I don't I think it could be risky of them taking one of the main characters, and I know we did see that with Nick Fury, but again, that to me is he's still more the side character. I'm talking about if you need a big reveal, you could do that, but then you have to be. I think they got to be really careful with how they do that. They'd have to, I think, almost select a character that's not a like a Captain Marvel or a Black Panther of getting a main soul film. You'd have to get someone close to them. I think that not that it's like a game ending thing, but I do think they have to be careful of what they do with that trickery, because you don't want audience feeling like I watched this movie and it is not pointless, but I feel like it's pointless as far as I didn't watch these characters progress or move at all. So that's why I always thought
Yeah.
it'd be nice to kind of let the audience in on the joke of like, yeah, that's Ant-Man, right, guys? And the audience be like, oh, are they gonna figure out this movie? Oh no, they don't. What's going on? Or like I said, you could, to me, that would be different if you did the Chris Evans or Danny Ryan, if you bring this character back from dead, because automatically you have people questioning it, like this doesn't seem right. And then you could reveal it of because I think you look at Knives Out, you look at other things. I think Chris Evans could be a great villain for the MCU if he's playing a Skrull version for just 1 or 2 movies. I think there could be tons of potential with him there, and you could have Sam there. You could have tons of good things, juicy content. So that's those are some of my theories as far as Secret Invasion. Because Secret, if you had to pick Secret Invasion, it was on my list too. I think it's a prime story for them to do.
Yeah, and one thing people say, "Well, it sounds kinda like what they did with Hydra taking over SHIELD." No, this is different. This is they're not I don't want them working for anyone on
Hmm.
Earth. That's not who the Skrulls are. They don't want they wanna rule. They want to rule, and there's a great kind of there's other storylines without getting into it too deep into it, but they don't that's not the point of what they did. They weren't working with anyone. They were out for themselves to establish their new home world.
Yeah, no, I think it's a great call. So yeah, I hope it happens. Whether even if it is just TV form, I'll take it. But I agree with you that I think I've always been the thing that it's a big enough event and a big enough crossover event that I think you need to. And the other I'd say for people, I always implore you to go read comic books. But if you don't want to, and especially if kids, it's I don't know if it's maybe it is on Disney Plus. I can't remember American, Canadian Disney Plus, all different. But Avengers Earth Mightiest Heroes, they did a whole season arc on the Secret Invasion, and I'm not sure if you've seen it, Chris, but if you haven't, it is fantastic. Because I had read it, but when I had seen it done on that show, I was like, "This is the way you do it." Because they did it to me similar ways where they would have certain characters that were secret of Skrulls, but then other characters where you were in on it. So there was
Mm,
always this fun dynamic. That's where I pulled the cap thing. Because for about half a season, you knew he was a Skrull, but he was doing good things. He was a part of the team. There was nothing off other than maybe the odd thing that you would see that people wouldn't catch. And then eventually characters like something's up with Steve. And it was just this great building of it. And I recommend that to everybody. If you have Disney Plus, go check out Avengers Earth Mice. Here we're talking about Spider-Man. That's one of the most underrated comic book shows of all time as far as animation live action. They just did it so phenomenally every storyline, and that they did the scrolls very very well. And if they do it on screen, I think that'd be a good way. And plus there's kind of been some inklings of the way MCU likes to adapt a lot of ultimate comic books. There's if you look in that when they go there's a Kang episode, their suits are almost identical to the time traveling suits in the Avenger Endgame movie. And then they also, when Peyton Reed was making the first Ant-Man, he posted a screen grab of the Ant-Man episode because that was about introducing Scott Lang. So they've kind of referred to that show a few times as maybe like an inspiration. So you never know there's a potential. And I doubt because that show also has the Avengers living together in a tower. I don't think that's going to happen, but I would love it one movie for the Avengers to be shacked up, all living together because I think there's some fun there. But yeah, I always recommend that show. It's really good. And that if you don't want to read or you don't have time, or if you want to watch some with your kids, it's totally safe. It's a PG rated show, but it covered the scrolls really really well.
yeah, I've not given it a chance. It's my list. It's ever growing, but
Oh yeah.
um, yeah. So, oh, good. So, what is your kind of follow up to mine? Since you said your last choice ties into mine.
Yeah, so I picked Dark Rain, and Dark Rain is comes up right after that, and it's kind of like a twofer, so it's not really cheap, but it's kind of Dark Rain slash Dark Avengers because they all kind of like Secret Invasion leads into Dark Rain, and then Dark Rain leads into Dark Avengers. And the reason I think because is because obviously this is all kind of contingent on Spider-Man and the rights and everything like that. So this could be kaput in a few years where they announce, oh, we're completely done. But I've always said in a perfect world of let's say this deal does go on for a while. I know Marvel and people maybe are avoiding it because we had Amazing Spider-Man and we had Willem Dafoe, but I do think Norman Osborn is a character that just has to come back at some point. He, for me, is my favorite Spider-Man villain. He is his, Venom's there, you have Mysterio, but to me, he is his kind of Joker. He's his Lex Luthor. It's just you have that dynamic of the family, you have the split personality. There's many ways you can go, but for me, I quite enjoy, and this will probably be a thing we'll cover one time on the show. I quite enjoy these Spider-Man MCU films, but I have been a tad disappointed with them just because I feel there's certain storylines or characters that they don't want to do just because the other companies have done them before. And I get it, you do want to do something fresh, but I sometimes go, oh, I really want to see this story done very well on the big screen. But they, to me, sometimes have the idea of, well, it's already been done, so I want to do something new. So that's why I do have a feeling that if everything goes right and Spider-Man stays with the MCU and there's a deal that Norman Osborn might not be the kind of Green Goblin-esque right away Norman that we know. So I could see them going this route of with Dark Reign, he puts together this squad, yeah, and you have characters like Loki and Doctor Doom, but even with Dark Avengers, you could have this, okay, Thanos happened, Secret Invasion happened. You guys need, and it would almost kind of be another Civil War esque where the government's going to make a bad decision and trust Norman Osborn, but he kind of breaks it down of like, you need me to steer you the right way. The Avengers aren't the way to go. They let the snap happen or the blip. They let all this happen, and you can work in like, yeah, these might be some villains he's working with as far as Dark Avengers, but you need you need me to kind of steer you right because look at all these bad events that have been happening. You can say all you want about the Avengers, but they're not helping. I can give you the quick plot for people that haven't read it. Following the Skrull invasion, Norman Osborn leveraged his success in defeating the Skrulls to replace Tony Stark as the director of Shield. So I think there's already just the first sentence. You have many things where he could obviously Tony Stark's not there, but you could have him play a role in the Secret Invasion. You could have him up and Nick Fury. You could have lots of things. And Osborn simultaneously forms alliance with Doctor Doom, Emma Frost, Namor, Loki in the Hood. He uses Hammer to carry out his own agenda at times. However, Osborn's actions and his reputation influence a number of heroes and villains in an attempt to reset Osborn's rule and remove him from power. And to me, that's kind of DC hasn't done. I'd love it. That's that Luthor as president storyline, right? That is this time. It's
Mhm.
not like with Hydra. It's different because Hydra would right away. They're Nazis, so they're bad people. So no way you're gonna not cheer but understand them and go, oh, Hydra should take over. I think Osborn you could leverage in a way where you could have that Thanos effect. You could have that Killmonger effect of this is a villain. He has his own agenda, but he feels he's doing this in the right way because you guys can't get the job done. And then you kind of reveal, okay, yeah, has some nefarious means and he is a villain at the end of the day. But I think there's lots of potential. And I really want that's why I was disappointed that I don't. I think a Justice League 2 is very far away, but I liked the idea of the end credit scene of Justice League of Luther and Deathstroke putting together a team because we've had it a little bit. We had that with Infinity War and Endgame with Thanos and his children and everything like that, but we haven't had a huge hero team versus a huge hero villain team. And I think it was smart not to do that right off the jump because I think that's too many characters for the first few phases. But after Civil War, when we saw the airport fight scene, I thought you can make this work with an Osborne led team versus a let's say Sam Wilson or even a Carol Danvers led Avengers team. I think you can make the action work, you can make the characters work, you can set them up with enough film. So I think you could do Secret Invasion and then right after that maybe that's when you do introduce Norman Osborn. You know, you introduce him, he does help some way, beat the Skrulls, and they kind of go, oh, we could kind of trust this guy, or but and that's where I don't know again with Spider-Man and the rights, but I don't think even then my ultimate fear is that we get Ultimate Goblin, which I'm not a fan of. I love Ultimate Spider-Man, but I'm not a fan of that type of version. But I think they will go a different route with Norman if he comes to the MCU, and I could see this being the route they go.
Yeah, it's a great follow up, and it's such a interesting story where where the quote unquote the villains win,
Hmm.
but the villains are winning because, like you said, the heroes couldn't get it done, and Norman found a way to get it done with it, and so this is the reward. And it's scary just to see then the country fall in line so quickly. It's just like, oh my gosh, he's right.
Yeah,
We need someone like him. I just love the name of his replacement for Shield Hammer
yeah.
because
Says
it
everything
has
about
nothing
that
to do.
character.
Yeah, it's something to be interesting and just see what happens when the heroes weren't successful.
Hmm.
And it leads to a great follow up after that, which we'll hold back at that point. I don't want to spoil everything about it,
Hmm.
but um, it's an interesting concept. I like it as a follow up because it could be the phase itself, learning to deal with you know what happens after that. That's an entire phase you could do right there.
Oh yeah, it's just between Secret Invasion and this and Dark Avengers other thing you could go that route. And even then you could eventually get to him being Green Goblin, a Spider-Man villain, as maybe he's doing some experimenting, right? Maybe he's wanting to enhance him.
Goes too far.
Yeah, maybe instead of just wanting to be the Iron Patriot, he's wanting to enhance himself, and there's a way that you could do that. But that's where again that all the and I guess you honestly they could do this storyline, but just switch out Norman Osborn if we're really talking about Spider. I think he's essential because it's tough because I've read the comic book and I love it. And I love
Mhm.
Norman Osborn's one of my favorite villains, so I feel he's essential. But at the same time, they were going to do Civil War initially without Spider-Man, and he is in that movie, but he is not the same role he's in the comic books, right? As far as
Correct.
the public reveal, Aunt May's being targeted, stuff like that. They sidestepped all that. And that's kind of stuff that I hope they would use. Maybe if they do this, his personality is actually out there and his identity is known. But you could take some other character they know. Heck, you could even do this with Doctor Doom as the leader. There's other people you could kind of function in there. So I think it's one of those, like, I do want to see it with Norman, of course, but I think it's a story that you could adapt and stretch out and change a little bit. I'm not somebody, if Norman's not in there, this is, because some people ride or die on the Civil War not being exactly like the comic book. And for me, that's, I have the comic book. I have the volumes, I have the omnibus. Like, I have that story, and I'm just happy that we have any version of that story on screen. So if Norman's not there, that's fine. I think there's way you could change it if the Spider-Man deal kind of blows up. But I think that storyline in general of, the Avengers have had so many chances, we really have to change, especially after Secret Invasion. That would have the Thanos has people rattled, but that's because they were attacked. Secret Invasion, not, it's the word in the title. They were invaded. They were lied to. They were twisted and tormented. I think you'd want as much security as possible, even if that means turning into some sort of villain, whether that be a Norman, a Doctor Doom, or somebody else we don't even know about yet.
Yeah, I think it's a great pull. So yeah, so we'll have to let the listeners kind of give us some feedback on and actually say, do you like these story picks, or what are some other story picks that you want to be brought into the MCU? So let us know on Twitter and
Mhm.
Facebook and wherever we're on at that point. We'd love to hear those ideas and your kind of pitch for how to bring it in.
Yeah, no, I would love to hear some ideas because there's so many. This was a tough one to pick.
And we might read a few on air too
Oh yeah,
if some are really intriguing at that point. So
yeah. So you want to move over to what's next here? Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Chris and I hope you're enjoying another edition of the Marvel Alliance podcast. We're about to throw some ads right now. These ads help build the channel, they help support every single show here on the feed. The thing is, who we're partnered with, we don't get to select the ads and we don't get to select the volume of the ads, unfortunately. So we're giving you this warning to adjust your headsets, turn down that volume so you can listen to all these ads and support the Geek Ultimate Alliance. I'm going to give you a countdown, you're going to hear some ads, and then you're going to go right back into the episode. 3, 2, 1.
yeah, our next one. Why don't you lead it? Because you're going to be taking this one. This is going to be a new segment. Everything's a new segment right now, episode one, so everything's new. This is one we've talked about. You had brought up to me, Travis, of trying to do something like this, kind of every week, a back and forth between us. What are we calling this segment?
So this is fact or fiction. So these are just gonna be like mini conversations. This week, I'm gonna give Chris 3 scenarios of if he believes these are fact or fiction, and this will go so on and so forth. And same thing below as far as the storylines. You send us some. I think in the future, once we establish this, we'd like to do a whole show of this and maybe get some like viewers, and you guys send us a bunch. But this is just to let us know what you think about, let you know how you feel and what we'd like to cover. But yeah, so I have 3 right here. I'll ask
And these are
Chris.
going to be quick hits too. We're not going to spend like we did with the last one at
No,
that
yeah,
point.
that's exactly. These are just like little appetizers, little like the dessert, right? We just had the main
hmm
course. This is the dessert of
Yep.
like, give us your little log line. What do you think? And then I'll
Mhm.
tell you what I think. And then, yeah, so I'm going to start off and give you this. So, fact or
All right.
fiction, Wolverine, aka Logan, aka James Howe, will appear in the MCU in the next 6 years.
I would say that's fact. Well,
It's
I'm
tough,
just trying
right?
to think of
So,
no,
this is why
no. I would say just kind of thinking how the phases line up at that point, and with the delays that are currently happening.
this is why,
um,
before you answer, this is why I
yeah,
didn't pick 10 years because 10 years was
yeah,
too
Te-
big.
yeah.
Mhm.
10 years I could see. 6 years I don't see it yet, just because we have nothing from Feige about X-Men outside of we're working on it.
Mhm.
Like Fantastic Four, yes. If you replaced Logan with Fantastic Four, yes, I could definitely see that within 6 years. This one I don't see it yet, just because even before the delays, I don't see it happening yet, because that's basically 6 years is very close to their phases.
Yeah,
So
the reason I picked 6 years is because we kind of know the next 2.5 years, and then after that we have ideas of movies, but we don't have them announced. But again, that's why I didn't pick 10 because so you're going
yep.
fiction on this one.
I'm going fiction. It's gonna happen, but it's longer.
Yeah, I agree with you there. I picked fiction for 2 reasons. One, pretty much whatever you said there, as far as I think that's why I didn't go 10, because I think 10 years, lots could happen. That's a whole decade from now. But six, and I knew 3 or 4 years, that's too soon. But 6 years, that sweet spot where maybe they might add somebody. Plus, my other fiction is I'm still not fully convinced that they may lead with Laura Kinney's Wolverine and not James Hallett's Wolverine. I think there's a chance
Mm,
that you could establish Logan's out there, but we have this person, and then you bring him in
hmm.
later. Just because if they do like to be different, so I think there's always a chance, and that character's picking more and more popularity up after the movie, and there's a great
We'll have to
Tom.
talk. We'll have to talk about that decision later on. That's another.
Oh yeah, yeah.
That's an
Well,
interesting topic.
yeah,
So
yeah.
we'll pause that one. I don't want to get in that debate yet.
Yeah, and the only thing I'll show is just go read we'll get into that debate, but also go read Tom Taylor's All New Wolverine run. It's one of my favorites and does a
Mhm.
good job. So here's my second fact or fiction. Blade will debut in the MCU in a solo film first.
I did they say yet, or they just say they cast him?
They've cast, and the reason I brought this because at the time of this recording, Mahershala Ali's being sneaky. He's being Tom Hardy as he posted a picture, a drawing of him as Blade. No caption, of course, just
Mhm.
just whetting the fans' appetite. So that's what I'm kind of posing to you. Do you think it would be
Yeah,
a kind of Spider-Man Black Panther esque where he appears in a crossover, or that's why I said fact or fiction? Will he debut in the MCU if just a sole film Blade?
I say that's fact. I think there's a very, and I'm count myself one of them. I really do, even though it got silly towards the end. I really do like the Blade
Mhm.
films. And I think he is too much of a big name actor that he's become, and it's just I don't see it yet as a team like a Civil War kind of. That's how we introduced Black Panther. And that's not taken away from anything that they did. I thought it was brilliant how they did it,
Mhm.
and but I think that the caliber of who he is, that he's an Academy Award winning actor. I think he's very excited about the part. I think they wouldn't have called him out that early to say he's going to be in a different movie, not title, and then we're doing a solo. I think he is a solo movie first. I agree. I think that's fact.
So see, I was originally fiction, but then hearing you say some things, I agree because I think he's the caliber, like two-time Academy Award winner. He's becoming a bigger name. My only reason why I was leaning towards fiction is I just don't know in the slate where, because if it's not a movie, or if it is a movie, he's still pretty far off. So that's why I was wondering, because I kind of talked about Moon Knight earlier. I was wondering if he could even have some sort of cameo somewhere, not as small, but maybe the kind of way Hawkeye did in the original Thor. Is like, this is a
Hmm.
character, get excited, just to give us a little taste, Mahershala. Because if we don't, unless they have to announce, there is that untitled Marvel film in October 2022, and the big debate is like, is that Blade or is that Deadpool? And I don't know which one. I kind of think.
I think it's Blade. I really do. I think again we're still waiting a while for Deadpool.
Yeah, and I hope that. So that's why I think you convinced me. I'll say fact, but I'm very 50-50. I'm very 50-50 on it because I could see them just
Yeah,
wanting to get him out there just to show that, hey, you guys
I
know
can
him, you're
too.
gonna love him, things like that. Because Blade's still, I think, a bigger hero, but I think he still needs to be reestablished. The last film was what, 2003 or something. It's been,
Oh yeah, it's been a while,
yeah,
but I'll counter that to nobody really knew Guardians of the Galaxy, and here we are.
yeah,
They gave them a full movie,
very
so
true.
I have faith that I just don't see yet on their slate where they could shoehorn in Blade in what they have on announced on their slate.
S-
And slates change all the
Oh yeah.
time, but that's again another debate we can have of where we could. But I say right now he's better as a solo and to build towards something
So
that could also be integrated.
okay, so for the original question, you already said fact. I just want to throw one quick addendum on it. If it
Okay.
was confirmed that October 2022 film was not him, would you still stay fact?
Yes, I
Okay.
still say fact.
Okay,
I
good to know.
still
So
say
yeah,
fact.
he's
Yep.
a strong fact. I'm a fact like 51%. He convinced me, but I
Mhm.
was initially fiction. So here's my last one because I think this is interesting and this is a further one out. So it's gonna be hard. We have no trailers, no cast, no even directors, but still, I just wanted to this far out, put you on the spot. Captain Marvel
All right.
2, will that be a billion? I'll switch it. Will that do I don't how do I want to I'll stick with the original. Will Captain Marvel 2 be a billion-dollar film?
Well, Captain Marvel be a $1 billion film. Um, I say I'm not even going to put it in this current climate. In I kind of have to now. It's tough
Mhm.
because I think in the current climate we're in, I think any movie to make $1 billion is asking a lot.
Very
I,
true.
I, I I'm not even saying Captain Marvel. I'm going to say any movie post, you know, COVID is asking a lot. I think that's going to be the big surprise is who becomes the first $1 billion post COVID.
Yeah.
So I don't think it has anything to do with Captain Marvel. I say it has to do with the environment we're in. Um,
It is 3
you take
years
this,
away though, right? Or it is 2 years away, so it could have a chance to
yeah.
recover. The only reason I asked that is because that was lots of people debate as was it successful because the movie or was it successful because it was the last film before Endgame and it felt like essential viewing. So that's why I
Yeah, that I mean that's interesting.
Mhm.
It's been a while since I heard it, but I think I just kind of quickly dismissed it. But the more, yeah, I think it depends on the person who's promoting that idea
Mhm.
because there are a lot of just anti Brie Larson
100%.
and stuff like that. So it'll depend on the person who promoted that. I kind of dismissed it because there were it just seemed on my feed that there was so much great praise, and I was one of them for Brie Larson, but there was also so much vehement hatred, and that I just that carries a lot of negativity. I think that idea just because of where it was coming from originally,
Mhm.
um, and I I would say it's 2 years down the line. It could. I just don't know enough of the current climate of when movie theaters open back up, what that looks like 2 years down the road. I think a lot of things have changed. I think the big question is what will be the first $1 billion movie after this, um, after all this is done. So right now, I'm saying fiction just because of the climate we're in, not to do with her character, because it's hard to say, well, take that out of it. I can't take this
Yeah.
situation out of it because it is what we're living in, and it's not. We're not going to go back to that world for a while.
Yeah.
Um, so I'm gonna say fiction just based on the environment, not on the character.
The only reason I will say fact is because I've been saying this even before there's been rumors. So cheap plug, you go look out Years of GeekVerse. I have the I have the recordings to back me up. But I do think Cap Marvel 2 is going to be kind of the next Civil War esque film, and I think that
Mhm.
even the climate, I think that's going to be the first time we get our tasting of another crossover, another her with a bunch of characters taken down, whether it's Skrulls or whatever it may be. I think there's enough time. I think the other thing is that it is pretty stacked. Like if you look at MCU in 2021, they have
Oh yeah.
so much, and that could
Yeah.
either really help as far as all feeding off each other, or that could be, hey, people are still recovering from these hard times, and they got to pick and choose. But I feel they're gonna make Captain Marvel 2 because Captain Marvel 2, I personally love Captain Marvel 2. It's very close, if not, it's in. I think it's actually in my top 10 when I rank them. I love Captain Marvel. I'll defend that all the time. So I have no problem quality wise. But I do think even if you look at critically, it's one of the lower Marvel ones, right? So I think even Marvel knows they want to try and step it up a little bit. I think you're going to get a really, really talented director in there. Not that the other two weren't, but I just think somebody of like, oh, they're doing Captain Marvel too. That's interesting. And I think you're going to get you're gonna get something big with Captain Marvel 2 because they have big plans with that character. Brie Larson is a
Mhm.
phenomenal actress. She's an Academy Award winner, and she's just I think she was perfect casting for Brie Larson. Again, whether you like her or not, that's up to you. But as far as the character, I thought she knocked it out of the park, and I think it's
Yeah.
gonna to me it was the same way as like Chris Evans when he initially was Captain America. I can tell you in First Avenger, I didn't love it, but then every time I saw him on screen, it just became more and more. He's that character. He's better, and I don't even think she
Mhm.
needs to get better, but I think she's gonna have that effect for maybe doubters. But I'll say fact just because I think it's going to be a crossover. If it's not a crossover,
Okay.
that's tough because because I think she has less popular villains, right? You can't throw in a this is her Joker for the mainstream, and it is
Yeah, that's a lot tougher her rogues
yeah.
at that point.
Yeah,
So
and I don't subscribe to the negativity of it, but I think the level of success that she had was because of Endgame, because
yeah,
it was the prelude to that, right? So it is tough. You
and they built the hype machine around it,
Yeah.
and that was to be expected.
But
So
at the same time, maybe that helps as far as lots of people saw Endgame, and she had some really great moments in there. So for now,
mhm.
I'll say fact, but I think you're completely right that the environment of just the world may screw me on this fact or fiction. So, so yeah,
No,
next week I'll be really looking forward to see what you cook up for your
yeah,
ones.
no, you set a high bar, so I've gotta bring some new ideas at that point.
And
So
same
no, that's great.
and same thing for listeners. Let us know on these ones and in the future weeks, like what you think fact or fiction. If we're right, if we're
And
wrong.
yeah, like put it out there, and we'll give you credit where credit is due. We're not going to claim it as our own, but we'll take some good listener ones just because we different people think different ways, and we may not see that one coming. So yeah, give us those ideas. I like it.
And then in the future, we can look back on these and see how right or wrong we were. We have recorded proof of an actual segment of being when
we're,
Captain
we
America comes out or Captain Marvel comes out, we get that box office. We can look at each other and say, "Oh, what did we think 3 years prior?" You know.
I will be happy to eat crow on that. I
Mhm.
would love to eat crow on that because I do want to see us come back and everything coming back. So yeah, so we've got one more thing to talk
Yeah.
about. It's kind of a thing for our kind of either our next episode, or well, we'll reveal it probably in our next episode. So probably be like maybe not episode 2, but episode 3, since we want to tell the fans what happens
Yeah, I
with it.
yeah,
So
I think that's perfect. Give them a chance to, catch up what we're gonna do, but this is very exciting what we're gonna be doing here.
So yeah, so we want to kind of look at introduce what we're calling comic book club.
Mhm.
And so kind of like your book clubs that of which I've never been a part of. I don't know, Travis, have you ever been a part of a book club at that point?
No, I feel like my podcast is a movie club because 'cause we're always having to watch stuff and then talk about it, but so I've been doing that secretly for 5 years, but no,
Yeah.
I've never been part of book club, so I'm very excited to be a part of some sort of club here.
Yeah, and I know some comic book shops do this as well. So we're just gonna do it in a podcast form. So it's a comic book club. I want to say comic book club. No, it's comic book club. And right now, I kind of I gave these ideas to Travis, and he thinks they're good
Mhm.
because a couple of things we wanted to, at least for the first one, and probably going forward, we want to choose storylines that not only can you access on either we don't want anyone to have to buy anything per se,
Yeah.
but a lot of people are, including myself, are subscribed to Marvel Unlimited. And so with the exception of one of these stories is but also Comixology Unlimited, pretty much all these are available on Comixology and Marvel Unlimited, with the exception of one, and I'll be sure to call that out, but it is also available to purchase. But if you have Comixology Unlimited and Marvel Unlimited, you'll be able to find all of these no problem, with the exception of one that you'll have to purchase on Comixology. So we wanted to kind of make it as available. So if you wanted to, whatever is chosen, and you all will make the choice that we're going to go episode to episode, issue by issue. So one episode when we make the decision, our episode 3 of the show will deal with that first issue of whatever storyline we've chosen. So I think I said it all right there outside of the choices.
Oh yeah,
Anything I'm
no,
missing?
it sound perfect. Yeah, no, I think this one will be just to announce the voting will be on our Facebook because on the Twitter side, I think when we have you guys pick the topics, we'll have you pick it there, and then this one because we got some larger group fans that I can say, oh, what do you guys want to read on Facebook? So
Mhm.
that's where you can head over there, like that page, and then you can vote. It's just going to be as simple. You're going to have all the choices, and it's going to be the classic. Put the happy face on this emoji if you want this one. That's the easiest way to get it. And then also in the future, I think two things. One that I think we'll probably try and do some ones that when a movie's coming out, something that would be specific or an arc that's similar to
Mhm.
that. And then with also, I think I'm down to in the future, maybe one time when we're in another flux of no Marvel movies, maybe we'll have a viewer suggestion ones of have them give us a bunch and then we'll have that voted on and see because I'm very excited for this because you're about to reveal them, but I love all these stories and I'll be very excited to cover them in review form, which I have never. So I'll throw it to you to what are the choices going to be? And I think so. This episode goes live June 1st. I think honestly, probably maybe we'll give it to June 3rd or something like that. Maybe we'll give it a few days for people to listen, but then June 3rd, I'll make this live on the Facebook and you guys can go over and
Mhm.
vote and everything like that. And then we'll reveal it on the next
Okay.
episode.
Yeah, no, it'll be cool. So, our first one is Civil War, July 2006, 2007. Yes, we have the movie already out there, but as you will read, it was a very different. I mean,
Hmm.
we want to say it is adapted from what this is. 7 issues, Mark Millar and Steve McNiven as penciler. Our next one is one of my choices I just said, Secret Invasion, 2008 to 2009. Again, Bendis and Lino Yu, 8 issues. Again, a lot of these had tie-ins. Civil War and Secret Invasion had tons of times. We are going to be looking at the main arc,
Hmm.
the main arc. So, but it'll also give you an opportunity if you want to read some of the tie-ins. Great. Next one is Craven's Last Hunt. This one encompasses a few different. It's not was not like Craven's Last Hunt. You just read these. It was written by J.M. De Mateus and pencils by Mike Zeck. Web of Spider-Man, number 31, 32, Amazing Spider-Man 293 to 294, and Spectacular Spider-Man 131, 132. The good thing is this has been collected many times in collections themselves. So usually, like particularly on Marvel's Unlimited and Comixology Unlimited, I'm pretty certain it has its own kind of designation.
Mhm.
Um, Next one is Daredevil Born Again, February to August of 1986, written by Frank Miller and pencils by David Mazzucchelli, and encompasses. This is an interesting one because I just discovered this. The main story is 227 to 231. Um, However, newly reprinted graphic novel formats have done included issue 226 and the follow-up story 232 233. So this might be this is obviously a longer one. We're gonna have to kind of, if that is ending up being chosen at some point, we'll give you a final decision of what the issues are going to be, because I think the reason they included them was because of it was a good lead up, and then the after effects were very big
Mhm.
as a result. So, and then finally, again, Travis had mentioned this as one of his favorite movies. We're going Old Man Logan, August 2008 to November 2009, encompass Wolverine Volume 3, 66 to 72, plus the Wolverine Old Man Logan Giant Size #1.
Yeah, those are some great choices. I'm happy with any of those. We talk about Secret Invasion, how we both
Hmm.
really want to see that on the big screen, so I'd be happy with that. Civil War, I think, is actually my favorite Marvel storyline, to be honest. I just remember reading that and just the buildup of it, and it was great. And I was always pitching that to be adapted. And I was so happy when they got the movie. Craven's Last Hunt, I had seen Craven in the animated series, but that was the comic that I read. Like, okay, I love this character, not just liking him. Daredevil Born Again, I'm a huge Daredevil fan. Like I said, I think he's probably number two behind Logan as far as my favorite Marvel character. And I think I'm somebody in the camp that I think Frank Miller's Batman stuff is really good, but I think it's a little overrated. Where Daredevil, I think he brings the right panache to
Hmm.
it. And Old Man Logan, yeah, it's adapted from the movie, but kind of like Civil War, it's very different than the actual movie. So it'd be great to
And
break down.
also Daredevil Born Again, that's season 3 of,
Yeah.
the Netflix show. So it's definitely kind of, as we read it, maybe bring up some, maybe it'd be kind of like a last episode kind of thing, taking the whole story in hand. The closest adaptation we've seen is the Netflix season 3
Yeah.
of that outstanding show. But yeah, no, I tried to kind of give a not just big quote unquote popcorn summer, what these were, some starting in the summer of their respective ones, but also some character focuses, which is Craven's Last Hunt with Spider-Man and Craven, Daredevil, and Logan at that point. So, I thought it was a good mix. And so all of these are on Marvel Unlimited, Comixology Unlimited, except for Craven. Craven is just on Marvel Unlimited. It is available to purchase on Comixology. It is not right now part of Comixology Unlimited, but as people who are subscribers to Comixology Unlimited, they do change all the time. So maybe by the time this one drops, it will be a part of Comixology Unlimited. But at the recording of this, it is not, but it could be.
Mhm.
So,
And we'll get more information once it's chosen too, because if that's
mhm,
the one, then we can again be clear and whatnot. But yeah, we'll be going again, like Chris said, issue by issue each week until we get to completion, and then after that, we'll see. But yeah, let us know. Well, obviously, go vote. But yeah, I'm excited. I'm
mhm.
excited for any one of these because there's so many things to talk about with each of these, and I think issue by issue is great because you don't miss anything. Then too, it's sizable for our viewers to read too. It's not a task where they got to take on a whole thing or spend a bunch of money. Think, okay, I'm going to read this issue this week. I got a week to read it, and then you can come and join and give us your reviews. Let us know on social media, Facebook, Twitter, what you thought about them. And yeah, I'm very excited. I'm excited to see what people choose. I don't know because these are all very different. If I had to guess just based on name, I bet Silver may have an edge, but you never know with people because
Yeah.
Logan is a huge movie as well. So there's definitely some possible routes it could go.
Yeah, and that was a big year because
Hmm.
if I'm not mistaken, Civil War was Marvel's big thing. Infinite Crisis was DC's big competitor
Yeah.
with it that year. I'm almost certain that was happened. So that was a amazing summer to be a comic book fan.
Yeah. Oh yeah. So.
um, but yeah, so we've come to the end of the show.
Mhm.
Our first episode. We bring our first episode to a close, and this I hope you all enjoyed it. I know Travis and I, obviously, we've talked for almost a little over 90 minutes at this point, but and we were and that was me before the show even went, it's gonna be a quick episode. Nope. So I'm never gonna say those words again.
Yeah, the knock on wood. Yeah, we had a lot to cover. You know, we had to talk about
We did.
ourselves, talk about the show, but now next week we'll just get right into it. Like we've said, who knows with how news is. So we'll always have a main topic. We'll always have these
Mhm.
segments. So if there's no news, then we can just jump right into it, and that's what we'll be doing. So yeah, no, I thank you for doing the show with me, Chris. I was excited when I pitched it to you, and I was happy that right away you jumped on the opportunity. And thank you to anybody else that's listening right now, sharing the show, promoting it. We really appreciate it. And yeah, I'm very excited to start this adventure. I think it's gonna be a good time, and I can't wait. This, like I said, this is us getting ready, but I can't wait till you and I get to the thick of things when we get to talk about trailers and news and casting and
Mhm.
movies, and I can't wait to talk about these comic books. Just I'm very excited for the future. So I think everybody that's given us the, even if you gave us one opportunity to listen to us, I hope you enjoyed this, and I hope you're back next week. And yeah, thank you very much, Chris, for doing this with me.
No, that's awesome. So yeah. So again, appreciate you, listeners. You can follow the podcast on Twitter. It is at Marvel Alliance 5. The 5 means absolutely nothing. It was just what Travis was able to acquire at that
We're gonna
point.
I even wanted the 4. I even wanted the 4 at least for Fantastic Four, but it's just like there's so much like the Twitter is just real. I still don't even have my own name on there. That's why I'm Travis B. Snell on Twitter. There's no Travis Snell. There's a guy
Mm,
named Travis Snell that hasn't tweeted since 2018, and every year I tweet it and I go, "Hey, can I have this?" And I get no response because clearly he's not using this account anymore. But so that's like one day we will make that 5 mean something, or I will get another account. But yeah, that there or the GUA Pod Network to find our show or any other shows. And yeah, like I said, Travis B. Snell, if you want to hit me up personally, ask away. I, for the most part, I'm pretty active. Once I'm working, I'm not because I work in a hospital and the phones are a big no there. But on my downtime, I love conversating with people. So hit me or
mhm.
Chris up.
Yeah, you can follow me personally on Twitter at Chris Balga. There is no one, there is no number. There's just one of me. So I
Perfect.
have that over on you.
Yeah, yeah, you got. Yeah, I have to add my middle name. You know, so
Um,
you got that full on golden Chris Balga. Perfect. No one can take that from you.
yeah, no one can. I don't think there's a line to try though, so I don't want to boost my ego that much. But you can also email this show. We are Marvel Alliance Podcast at gmail.com.
Mhm.
And as Travis said, our network, Geek Ultimate Alliance Network, Twitter at GUA Pod Network. Feel free to tweet, email, give us feedback, give us show topics, vote on the Facebook, vote on Twitter, vote on everything. Give us some ideas. We're really excited. We hope you are excited. We hope to distinguish ourselves from all these different other shows that do it, but I think that we're going to bring something different to the table, bring our own unique opinions to the table, and we start the week, so hopefully we start the week
Yep.
strong, and we also start this network on a strong footing as well, with it. So I'm excited to be a part of it. I know, Travis, you're really excited that this is happening, and but yeah, so thank you all for listening. Right now, I have absolutely nothing pithy or cool to say to suggest that. That's something I'll work on, and Travis will do it. But thanks for listening. We are Marvel Alliance, and we look forward to talking to you next week.
Excelsior.
There you go. He's figured it out. There we go. That didn't take long.
Have a good one,
All right.
everyone.
Yes, Excelsior.
Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Chris and I hope you're enjoying another edition of the Marvel Alliance podcast. We're about to throw some ads right now. These ads help build the channel. They help support every single show here on the feed. The thing is, who we're partnered with, we don't get to select the ads and we don't get to select the volume of the ads, unfortunately. So we're giving you this warning to adjust your headsets, turn down that volume so you can listen to all these ads and support the Geek Ultimate Alliance. I'm going to give you a countdown. You're going to hear some ads and then you're going to go right back into the episode. 3, 2, 1.